What is up, everybody? Gary Simon here. So today I'm doing a channel first. As some of you know, I've done a lot of live streams in the past where I do a live UI UX review, and the key word being live. I usually always do this live, but today I'm deciding not to do that live just because I want to expose more of my channel to the fact that I do these reviews, and I almost always do them in live setting. But today I'm going to be doing the same thing I do, except it's just a pre-recorded video. I just recorded, I just finished it, and that's because coming up very shortly, I'm going to be restarting my live UI UX review series, which I've stopped doing for like the past 6 weeks or so. So if you like this sort of thing and you want me to personally look at your design, then join my Discord server, and then usually Fridays or Saturdays, I will, pick out designs to review and help you all out. So here is how that works. Wait 1 second. You're about to watch me review a bunch of UI designs, but what if you're not a great UI designer yourself? Then you should definitely check out my UI design bootcamp at Scrimba.
At Scrimba, you don't just watch videos. No. You're actually able to modify code in the browser while you learn. My course on UI design features over 100 lessons that are specifically tailored to help you become an awesome UI designer, and they're packed with interactive challenges. So visit the very first line in the description of this YouTube video to access my course along with many others for a very low monthly fee.
All right, so we have a bunch of people submitting all within the last minute or so. I did an announcement, so let's just take them as they come. I have not looked at any of these beforehand. Let's see if I can how effectively I can identify the weak spots and maybe the positive spots as well. So here we go. Here's the first one. All right, so this is obviously a portfolio of some sort. Right away, the first thing that I'm noticing that is just throwing me off is this up here, this little lettermark logo, JT, for his name, Joshua Toro or something like that. Not enough white space on top. Look how close it is to the very top edge of the viewport. You don't want that. You need to have things pushed away. Second of all, we have an issue with, I would say, alignment. We could see that we have a clearly defined column right here in the left, which I like this part. It's a lot of awesome white space, big type, that works well. But then we have over here extended all the way out really far, just kind of over in this section, the another column defined over here, and it just seems too large in my opinion, and the way that it's too wide of a gap in contrast to this area over here. It would be much better if we just took this logo, push it down from the top to give that white space that we need, put it right here, and then also position these over here. In fact, I think what we'll do as a part of this is I will demonstrate that real quick using Adobe XD for this. So all I have to do is just print screen. You can't see this part right now. I'll just copy that. We'll hop into here. I'll show you just how much of an improvement that we'll get by doing this. Oh, people are texting me. All right. So here's the original. We'll just keep that there. Be quiet. It's my wife's texting me from work. Oh my God. All right. So the first thing we'll do real quickly, I'm going to try to move through these as fast as possible, is we'll take the artboard and let me just take this phone real quickly and either smash it or mute it. Jesus. All right, and we'll get the background color. All right, and what we'll do is real quickly we'll get the logo. So I'm print screening right now. Again, you can't see this process. I use this little tool. I forget what it's called, but it just allows you to take screenshots of little sections here. Oh, and of course I had to get the very top portion. FML. There we go. So we'll delete that. There we go. Scale it down, of course, by a lot. And we'll put this just kind of over here. So notice the white space difference already. So we have this tiny little thing up here with like 4 pixels, but then we have a lot more up there. So now we'll take this. We'll paste that as well. Of course, we got to scale it down really quick. And, maybe just get a nice even alignment of white space on the right, top, and also an equal amount of white space on the left. So like here and here. And then we're going to take just this portion right here. and we will place it right there. All right, so here's a much bigger improvement just between these three areas: this logo, this about skills, the navigation, and then this section. Now this section has issues in and of itself as well. But for like number one, which go back to the original, I'd say that this is a little bit too small, this type, for this little subheading. Bump that up just a few more points. Then down here, not enough vertical white space in between these elements. These need pushed out quite a bit more. And in fact, I can just use the dev console here. So like this one right here, what is this? Font size. Okay, there's not even a font size on it. So we'll put font size 1.3 rem units, maybe 1.5. There we go. That's a lot better. You can actually read it a little bit more. And then as far as the, let's see right here, we're going to do margin bottom on this one. 1 M unit. No, maybe like 0.5 M units. We'll go like 0.3. And then we'll also have the, let's see here, this section, these little social icons definitely need more than 10 pixels. And by the way, don't use pixels for this sort of thing. Use M units, or in some cases you can use rem units. So we'll take this margin, we'll just put it let's 1 M unit, 0. More than that. There we go. So now we've created a much better distinction. I would probably make this font size about the same, possibly. So what was this font size that we changed up here? I'm trying to create just a real quick before and after. 1.5 rem units. We'll take this real quickly. We'll go fonts, use pixels again. 1.5 rem units. Now these two look kind of similar. I'm not sure. Maybe we can bump this up to like 1.8. Maybe we could also, we could do something different, like font weight, bold, text transform, uppercase, letter spacing, point, yeah, something like that. And then I don't like the actual label for the copy, so we could change this to something like, hey, guess who? Something witty or something different like that. And then the letter spacing here, not too happy about that. Letter spacing down here, maybe like 0.3 M units. Ooh, no, not letter spacing. I meant line height. Line height, let's go like 1.4 M units. Now the color is not white, slightly off. Something like that. Now this here is a lot better than what we had before. So if I refresh this, just take a look at this middle section. Yeah, I think it was definitely an improvement. So hopefully that was helpful for that individual and those of you who are watching. Next one, personal portfolio. I've submitted for live, but this time the website has gone up in dates, and I will be happy to stand on Mr. Gary regular video. I'm Mr. Gary. All right, so let's check this one out. All right. Ooh, look at this. We got some snazzy stuff happening here. What is this? What is this? I'm trying to figure out like if this is 3JS or anything like that, because it doesn't look like it is. I see a lot of div elements here. So, all right, so we have some interesting things happening here. First of all, I'm curious about whether or not it's, how it behaves responsively. All right, so he took that effect off, which completely makes sense. That does make sense. And now it comes back for desktop. That works. I like this. This is very unique. Let's scroll for more. Oh, yeah. Not much I would be changing about this. Really clever use of probably clip path animations, I would say, probably to achieve that scroll-based sort of animations on the images. I like this a lot. I'm not going to really say that there's one thing. Look at that. that I would really change about this. This is excellent. Very, very nice work. Let's go ahead. Concept landing page. Let's check this one out. All right, so here you have what's a very standard sort of landing page for just, a brick and mortar business of some sort. So first of all, I can't read this. Let's go to English. More than 10 years of experience in roofing. So it's a roofing company, a pretty big prominent picture of a roof. I would probably try to get a little bit more of a higher quality image, especially on a larger viewport. You can kind of see pixelation because it's a lower scaled image that's being pushed up beyond its limits. But looking at the top, this is a concept landing. Okay, all right. Pretty decent section up here. Nothing really bad that's happening. We got a call to action with good coloration in terms of the color that stands out. One thing that's kind of strange. Yeah, one thing is throwing it off slightly. Like I said on the first one that I reviewed, this logo right here probably should extend just right over here. That way you keep this column here and you keep alignment consistent, which always helps. Same thing with over here. Continuing on, looks like this is pretty even with that. And you can see this as a card, but the background of the card is very low contrast based on the gray background, the light gray background that it's on. So really your columns are kind of defined by your higher contrast elements. So the fact that this is pushed over here, outside of here, is not a big deal because the higher contrast icon is still following that same path, which works well. Let's take a look at this. Decent white space here. You might even get away on a larger desktop like this with doubling this white space on the top and bottom, just to give it more room to breathe. All right. I like this color scheme here. Works pretty well. Good icons. Recent projects. Restoration, repair. I'm not sure why this one's offset and this one isn't. Yeah, again, more white space down here. So overall, pretty solid right here. Let's check out another one. Portfolio website. Mr. Roland. All right. We got a youngster. There was some sort of loading animation with this. All right, so this is very, very prestigious type of, serif font. I think it's pretty decent looking. So I'm not sure it entirely fits too well unless you're only designing like prestigious websites or whatever. Plus, not to judge you based on your age. You're obviously young. You're a teenager. I'm not sure if I would be featuring you so much as maybe one of your projects or something like that, just because people do judge and they make the assumption, which many times is incorrect, that your age has to do with, and your lack of experience has to do with your work necessarily. But maybe you've been doing this for a long time and you're a phenom or something. But when it comes to clients, they'll just shy away instantly if they know that you're this young. So I'm not sure if I would put that out. Next up, in terms of if you're that young, because you do look quite young, and if you're doing work like this, and this is your own work, and this isn't a template or something like that, and you actually designed this user interface from scratch and implemented it front-end development, I'm pretty impressed. I definitely am pretty impressed. I like what I see here. Simple, good white space, although this is strange because we have this big empty portion here and have this tiny element over here for your skills. I would change that, maybe try to fill this whole section up with your skills right here. That would make more sense in my opinion. This is all pretty solid. Not sure about just having a little small container floating out here. I would probably break outside of this, this gray, just make it white. It'll probably make it a little bit better. So let me just take this. We'll take the background white. Oh, no. We'll take it the same color. I thought the background was white, but it's not. And for some reason, this hasn't been working lately. Very frustrating. I'll just eyeball it. There we go. So a little bit more, maybe on this resolution, you can bump up the scale of this form a little bit in terms of padding and white space on the inside of the elements, and also separating them underneath the the input field and the label here to spread them out vertically a little bit more. Outside of that, this is all pretty, I mean, this is really solid. Even if you weren't, you know, a young person, this is still a really solid design outside of that. So keep on keeping up. Definitely better than most of the submissions that I review. Next one, Sandrina. I've seen this one before on a different live show. All right. Hi, it's Sandrina. I'm a UX front-end engineer who helps turn ideas into accessible experiences. Start scrolling. All right, so we have a horizontal scroll. Let's connect the dots. Ooh, look at the floating orb with a gradient, like a radio gradient. You know what I would like? I would like you to create this version of the scroll where you start scrolling and then it takes over and places everything exactly where they should be, rather than just, you know, it being based on, you know, my little small incremental steps. That way it kind of helps the user, at least on desktop here, or even on mobile, on touch, to just kind of put things into place with where they're supposed to be at best. And then it's just, for the user, it would be a matter of just, you know, using the scroll wheel just to get them started. Other than that, it's very cool. I like this. This is an interesting little design thing here happening. Everything's still on. Like I said, this is low contrast panels, because this is a very light kind of it's like a beige on white. This is low contrast. It's okay that these are offset because, like I said, they're low contrast. Everything else, however, that's high contrast, like the type, is all aligned very well, and the white space, it looks pretty solid as well. I would try to spread this out a little bit further. You have all this space. All right, very cool. Next up, let's do David. Let's see, current live version. What's in dev version? All right, so this is like a redone or a remake or something of some sort. All right, so the first thing that it's coming to mind is this must be responsive or fluid typography. Yes, it is, because if you're all the way extended out on like this 4K resolution, this becomes quite large. So I would put like a max width or max scale if possible. Let's see. Next up, here's the one that's in dev. All right. See, that works much better. If you want to do the 100% right and left column fluid, I suppose that's fine. But me personally, I kind of like to have a container at some point that's centered. That centers all of your main content. Just because this is a big, long stretch. Your logging button color doesn't really stand out, although I guess that's okay because login would be secondary to your primary call to action. So I guess that's fine. But I think the purple, this hue, doesn't really match this color here. I'm not sure about that. Distream chat. Okay, this glow right here, way too much. I would really dial that down quite a bit. Minimalism when it comes to this sort of thing is much better, a much better approach. So see how far these are kind of disconnected from each other? Makes, like, what I mean by that is like the title and description associated with the icon. Try to push. This is where it's helpful to have kind of like that container that has a max width based on the viewport resolution that kind of brings things closer together, because that's a lot of white space and it feels a little bit disconnected. All right. Yeah, same thing here. Just pushing together a little bit more. All right, next up, copypage.io. All righty. All right, so we have a number of issues here. First of all, alignment, lack of alignment's catching my eye. We have this starting right here, and it's just slightly off. I noticed that right away. Get things lined perfectly. All right. Next up, the logo. Most of you know I was a huge logo designer, so I have to mention the logo. When it comes to logo design and your icon designs or your symbolism, the actual physical designs of them, when it comes to strokes and fine details, you want to omit those. This, I tell you right now, if I scaled it down big time, this tiny little green border and these areas right here would be kind of like become pixelated and they would be hard to identify. It's just not good. You want things to be simple. And usually it means when you have some sort of illustrative icon or symbol in your logo, that means you want to keep it real simple and thick so that both the shape of your icon should have thick, discernible edges and shapes, and then also the white space in between those different areas. So you would want to really just simplify this, get rid of the strokes and all that, and make, like I said, simplify it, make things so that in such a way that when you scale them down, they're going to be easily identifiable still. All right, enough about that. Kind of a cool sort of illustration here, but I think things just need to be tidied up. I'm sure it will look better though if I bring things in, but we need to account for, the fact that some people like me will be maximizing this on a 4K resolution. So I think also this shouldn't be as much as an afterthought, and the layout, because of it being way down here, seems a little bit just disconnected and kind of random in terms of placement of your different sections of content. So I would push this up here so that you fill this space in. So just use your I'm not sure how you're choosing to scale this and position this, but just position this in such a way that it fills up this area a little bit more, and maybe this part will be down here, and then it leaves room for this over here. Ooh, my God, my eyeballs. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that's a little bit too much for me. And look, notice lack of vertical alignment here. This should be, use display grid. It's so easy to center these things vertically in here, and it would look so much better. But I would also, I would think about a way to try to not blast your customers or your website visitors or whatever in the eyes with such a crazy. Now I like this color. This is really cool. This is probably the best part of the site so far that I've seen. Really interesting, unique, vibrant colors. This is a really good section, I have to say. This is not, because it's just like a big old empty space. All right, very cool. Next up, UI Coach. Not sure if that's the person who did UI Coach, but I already checked UI Coach out. We featured another video, so we're not going to go over that one. And plus, one per person. Pfft. All right, next up, dribble concept. All right, unfortunately, it doesn't have a large version, so I'm going to have to scale up just so we can see what's happening here. All right, musical, blah, 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 blah. It's straightforward. I'm not really noticing anything too bad. And again, it's kind of hard for me to really get into the nitty gritty when everything's so pixelated and this is the original size or so. So I'm probably just going to skip over going over that. I didn't see anything that was too wrong with that one, though. Let's check this one out. Bookstore. All right. Lack of white space at the top. You have this huge search bar here, which extends all the way out, but everything is just cluttered inside way too much. So if I take this and we do a margin top, why is that not working? It's not working at all. Oh, we're using strong here. Oh my. Let's do this. Margin top. There we go. Probably a margin bottom a little bit. Let's do like 0.3 em units. And then this should be larger text. This should be larger too, honestly. Like font size, let's see. Let's go to 3M. Now we can take down the margin top, maybe down to 1M unit. All right, and then we'll take this, we'll do a font size of like 1.3M units. And then also a margin bottom. Oops. Where am I at? All right, there we go. Margin bottom. Oh, yeah, that's important. Get that out of here. Don't be using pixels, by the way. A lot of people are using pixels, as I'm seeing, for margin and white space, essentially. 1.5, maybe 2M units. That's a little bit better. And then finally, when you're at a large viewport resolution like this, you want to take that width and take it down a bit, like 50%. Margin 0 auto. Let's do like 2M units on the bottom. And there we go. This here is a lot better than what was here originally. So let me refresh and you can see the original. And look at that. I mean, huge difference just when it comes to, just small details like white space, font size, width, and things like that. Outside of that, a little bit too cluttered here as well. I'd like to see these put more in a card format, or if not, at least more white space between these, because this is real close on top, like vertically. So push things away from each other as much as possible. Let's check out another one. That's this one, Ronvoluted. All right, let's refresh that because there's some text that shows up here. A prodigal, is that how you say that? Magician. Refresh again. There was some other type that just showed up here and now it's not doing it anymore. What is happening here? Okay. Yeah. Technical adventures. Now this part right here, I'm not sure what's happening because they're all styled very similar with this block sort of extended character spacing. And so I don't know where to click really because they're just all so similar looking. And they're hard to read, obviously, because of the weird letter spacing between them. And we have letter spacing up here. So I think this area needs to be reworked a bit. I've seen some stuff, man. This is a tough one. This is very tough. It's just, there's so many random things happening here that there's no semblance of consistency, in my opinion. It's just, we have tiny type here, but really large up here. A lot of small stuff happening. Not sure. It's just, I hate to say this, but it's kind of messy. It's a mess. And that's mainly because of this large type here that's really extended all throughout. So it's just, I think we need to take this and go back to the drawing board. I mean, I could probably sit here and fix this, but I think this extended letter spacing that's over here in multiple parts of the layout is really throwing stuff off. I would get rid of that here, and here. Make these a little bit more simple to read. Take this section that looks like it was just made for mobile because everything's stacked vertical, but we have all this room. Try to work in some more columns and such if it makes sense. All right, next up, I think we'll do a couple more. Bookstore. All right, I like the type. I like the logo. Really like this up here. This is all done well. Simply powerful, lorem ipsum. Not too bad here. There's little white space here and then a lot more at the bottom. I would push this down just slightly to even that out so it's 50-50 even. So obviously this is a work in progress because I don't know what's happening here. I'm not sure what this is about or whatever, but that's okay. This is kind of suffering from the issue of alignment here. We have this column right here, starting here. We have this over here. We have another one start over here with this high contrast element. And even this low contrast element isn't starting right here. So it's kind of, it's wonky. Same thing here, then same thing here. I'll push this out, honestly, right here. Everything else is designed pretty solid. I really like these cards. No background, but a very subtle, low contrast border. Works well. How it works, I would say, how does it work? Now, this is a better representation I was talking about before with one of the other ones. You know, the headline and the description are a lot closer to the associated, you know, photograph, illustration, or whatever. And so it just makes it a lot easier to read. Also, a good amount of white space between each one of them. That was one of the things that other one suffered from as well. There wasn't enough vertical white space. But yeah, this is all pretty solid, though, outside of that. We'll do one more, and we will call it quits. Graphicoon. All right, we had some animation, so I'm going to refresh this. See, notice how it has that fixed container, so it's always going to look pretty solid. I would argue, though, that you could probably go a little bit, you can go wider, though, than what this is. Yeah, because it seems there is an issue with white space on the inside. There's not quite enough. I think separating it out, you know, a good amount would definitely benefit it because this type is close to this illustration and all that good stuff. Yeah, just not enough white space. I think this would be so much easier to follow and read if this section right here, you could tell this section is its own section. So a lot of white space on the top and here at the bottom. Same thing with this section. This is its own section. This is its own section, but they all sort of just run in with each other. So more white space vertically between your sections. Outside of that, looking at them, you know, as components in and of themselves, they're all designed pretty well, although this is really small font size. You need to bump up your font size quite a bit. In fact, let me look at what you're doing for your fonts, or pixels. I mean, if these were rem units, for instance, I could have gone just to the body and just scaled up everything. Like if I go to the body right here, where are we at? If I change the default font size from 16 to like 20, nothing else changes, unfortunately. So learn your rem, your M units, especially for typography, because it will behoove you certainly as a designer developer. All right. And by the way, this sort of thing for purposes of accessibility when it comes to your forms, you should always have a background color, even if it's just a lighter gray, on your input fields, because some people have an issue with thinking that these aren't actual areas that you can click in, and they think they're like border separators or something. There's been research on it, though, so try to get yourself at least a background, or maybe have the border go all the way, all four corners. All right, and that is it. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to check in on Fridays and Saturdays. It really depends on when I do it. It's either Friday or a Saturday. I think they're going to be starting next week or the week after, and there'll be a weekly sort of series where I do live reviews, and you can submit yours in my Discord server. That link is in the description of every YouTube video anyhow, so I hope to see you there. Make sure to idle there, and then announce basically an hour before I do these things, and then you have that little bit amount of time to try to submit your design in time for me to review. So anyhow, if you enjoyed it, like I said, subscribe, leave a comment, like, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.